Hello and welcome to Anxiety Diaries, a weekly podcast about mental health, incredible people, and so much more. I'm your host, Scott Newmeyer, and this is episode 15. This week's episode is a little bit different than the ones you've heard in the past. Let's just say that when I was getting ready to put the podcast together for this week, I was feeling some things. In fact, I was feeling a lot of things. So this week's episode really does feel like an anxiety diary. There were some things I had to get off my chest, and some things I had to talk about for me. But I want to release it because I think that you guys will benefit from this too. Like I've always said, I'm completely open and honest with you guys, and I just want to put this out there so that you guys understand that you're not the only one that has a hard time, and you're not the only one that has bad days, because I do too, and a lot of others do too. This week has been an incredibly hard week for a lot of people in the mental health community. With the high-profile suicides of Anthony Bourdain and Kate Spade, mental health has been in the news all week long, and it's been a hard thing to watch, but an important thing for a lot of us to see. I'm glad people are out there, they're talking about it. I'm glad we're talking about it, and I'm glad that mental health is getting more recognition and people are rallying behind it, but it's also hard. It's also hard for a lot of people out there seeing this. It can be triggering for some people, and it's just really, it was a hard week. So I had a lot of things to say. I had a lot of thoughts on my mind, and this is pretty much me unfiltered. So this is episode 15. It is maybe the first real, actual anxiety diary. I hope you guys like it. I hope you guys find it helpful, and I hope you appreciate my honesty and my openness. If not, then come back next week for another episode with a new guest. We have some great guests coming up, and the next few episodes will be interviews like we've been doing on most of these episodes. But I had to get this one out there. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope you like it. Now, just a quick disclaimer. I am by no means a medical professional, nor are many of the guests you'll hear on the podcast. If you need help, please seek qualified medical attention. This podcast, while informative and fun, is no substitute for the real thing. With all that said, take a deep breath and relax. Here we go. You know, I asked myself this question yesterday. Why does it have to be so hard? Why do things have to be so difficult? This is something that you ask yourself a lot when you're anxious, or you're depressed, or you have a hard day or a rough week. Why does it have to be so hard? And if you read the title of this episode and you came here looking for an answer, I don't really have one for you. I don't have the answer. Because I ask myself all the time, why does it have to be so hard? You know, life isn't a straight line. Life has hills and valleys. Life goes up and down. Some days you feel good and some days you don't feel quite as good. And that's okay. But some days it just feels so difficult. It's hard to get out of bed. Or it's hard to take a shower. It's hard to hang out with your friends. It's hard to be with your family. But it's also hard to be alone. Why does it have to be so hard? You know, I think about a week like this past week that we've just experienced. Two very public figures taking their own lives. Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain. We look at these people who seem so successful, so powerful, so influential. They have everything. They have every single thing you could ask for. Money, fame, and you think they have happiness. But you don't know. You really just never know how someone's feeling inside. They could seem like the happiest person there is. They could seem confident and powerful and happy, loved, but inside they could be hurting. Inside they can't figure it out. Inside they're suffering. Inside every single day they're asking, why does it have to be so hard? And I don't know the answer. I just know that some days are hard for me. Some days are harder than others. Some days are easier than others. But the best we can do is to keep people around us that love us and care about us, or keep people around us that can help us when we need help, and we keep asking when we do need help, We keep talking, keep trying to get better every single day, no matter how small. If you took a shower today, I'm proud of you. If you got out of bed today, I'm proud of you. If you tried but couldn't quite make it out of bed, and you stayed there all day, I'm proud of you. If you were stuck in an anxiety spiral all day, felt like you were trapped and you couldn't get out, I'm still proud of you. I believe in you and I know it'll get better. You know, since I started this podcast, I've gotten a lot of emails and voice messages and calls, questions, direct messages. A lot of people asking for advice, or a lot of people asking, what can they do in this situation or that situation? How can they feel less anxious? How can they feel less depressed? They're coming to me with those questions. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychotherapist. I'm just a normal guy. And I don't mind that those questions come. In fact, I encourage it. I like that people are asking questions, seeking out help, looking for help. And I like that they feel like I'm the one they can turn to for those things. And I'll always try to help whenever I can. And if something is beyond my scope, I'll encourage them to find help, professional help that can help them. But a weird thing happens when people start to come to you for help. And people start to ask your advice because you have a podcast that's popular and talks about mental health, and you're open and you talk about your own mental health. The thing that happens is that you start to feel pressure. You start to feel pressure that you need to show up. You need to be there every day. You need to take that direct message or that call or answer that question and help that person. And that pressure hurts sometimes. And I'm okay with that. I can handle the pressure. Like I said, I encourage it. I want you to feel comfortable coming to me and talking to me. As long as you don't have the expectation that I can solve the problem. I can help, but I can't solve it. But I want you to know that there are other people there too. There are other people out there you can talk to. There are other people out there that can help. And there are probably a lot of people out there that are better than me at helping. Because there's really nothing that makes me any more special than anybody else. I've been dealing with this for a long time, over a decade, but I have good days and bad days too. I have hard days and I have easier days. I have moments of weakness. I feel guilt. I feel the immense guilt of letting my wife down every single day. I feel the incredible guilt of letting my kids down every single day. I feel the guilt of not being the husband that my wife probably wants and needs, because she wants to go out more. She wants to do more things. She wants to do more things with me. And I'm more honest now. I don't lie anymore. I don't make up stories so I can't go somewhere. I just tell her when I can't, when I'm not feeling it, when I'm not feeling up to it, when my mind doesn't feel like it's functioning at 100%. And I tell her, and I know she loves me, but I also know it's disappointing, and I'm not going to take that feeling away from her because I understand it. I understand that she's disappointed, and I understand that her expectations may be higher than I could reach sometimes. And I understand when my kids want to go somewhere with dad, and I just don't have the strength to go that day. I understand it. I never would ever make them feel bad for feeling those feelings, because I get it. But it doesn't mean I don't feel guilt about it. I feel guilty all the time. I keep saying one day. One day I'm going to take my wife on this vacation or that vacation. Or one day she won't have to worry about how I'm feeling when we're about to go out as a family. Because I know that's hard on her. I know in her mind she's probably thinking, I hope he's all right. Or she's probably thinking, let's just make it through this dinner. I know that's hard for her and it's hard for me, but I can't imagine what it's like for her. I can't imagine what it's like for her to have married someone who wasn't quite as anxious as I am now, and have those expectations of 10 years later not be up to what she was hoping. It breaks my heart a little bit. But the thing is, I'm still trying. I'm still trying to get out there and do things, but I just might not have the speed, the consistency, or the stamina that everyone else would expect or want. But I've learned over a decade of doing this, because for a long time, I didn't know this, but now I do, that my recovery, my feeling better and more comfortable, my feeling like I'm okay, that can't depend on anyone else but me. So I acknowledge their feelings and I know how they feel and I understand it and I sympathize, I empathize, and I want to fix it. I want to feel better about it. I don't want to feel so much guilt. But I also know that for me, if I need to get better, if I need to improve every day and make strides towards being able to do more things with them, I need to do it at my pace. And that's okay. The reason I'm sharing this with you is because I want you to feel that way too. I know sometimes it's hard when you're going through these things and you feel like you're letting down everyone around you. You feel like you're a failure, or you're not good enough, or you're not up to the standard that they should have, or you think they should be with someone else that can do the things you don't do. And I want you to know it's okay to feel that way. Your feelings are yours. But I also want you to know that those feelings of guilt, those aren't going to make you better. Those aren't going to make you work harder or strive to be better. They're only going to make it harder for you. You have to have trust and faith that the people around you, your wife, your kids, your family, your friends, you have to trust that they love you enough to understand what you're going through. And if not understand, at least empathize. You have to trust that they love you enough to give you the time you need to do this at your own pace. And it took me a long time to figure that out. It took me years to figure that out. But if you can trust them and trust yourself, you'll feel a little bit less guilty. Things will feel a little bit less hard. So when I started this, I asked the question, why does it have to be so hard? And I know you're probably looking for an answer, but I'm sorry, I really don't have one. I can't answer that. But what I can tell you is, if you can, stop asking that question. Because like all the other questions that don't have good answers, or don't have sufficient answers, or answers that are ever going to make you satisfied, all those questions just get in your way. They just get in the way of your recovery. They get in the way of you feeling better, working harder, and continuing to work towards feeling better and living and managing what you have, be it depression, anxiety, PTSD, BPD, anything out there. For a long time, I asked myself, why does it have to be so hard? And I still have moments where I will ask myself that question. But now I know better. When that question comes up, I immediately tell myself to stop, because there's no reason to ask it. It doesn't do anything to help you. Even if you knew the answer, it wouldn't help you feel better. It wouldn't help you get better. The past few years, I've really come around to the fact that my anxiety disorder is part of who I am and part of what makes me me. And that's okay. I don't like it. I get angry at it. I mean, I get I get pissed at it, but it's part of me, and I'm always going to have it. I have to trust that the people that love me enough to understand that. I have to trust that I love me enough to understand that. Because now, instead of asking, why is it so hard? I try to just say, it's hard. Let me embrace that. Let me face it. Let me use it. Because that's the way through. Sometimes the darkest paths lead to the most beautiful places. So if you're in a dark path now, keep going, keep walking. That's what I'm doing. You'll get through it. And what's at the end might be beautiful. I know it's been a hard week for a lot of people. A lot of people thinking about these prominent people who just couldn't bear to live another day the way they were living. But I want you to know there are people out there. We care about you and we think about you. And if you need help, please reach out. Get help. Ask for help. And maybe more importantly, if you see somebody that needs help, help them. Because sometimes when you're in the midst of that darkness, you're in the midst of that depression, you're walking down that dark path, sometimes asking for help is the hardest thing you can imagine. So if you see somebody or you know somebody that needs help, just help them. Just listen. They don't need answers. They just want to know you're there. Sometimes that's all they need. Thanks for all the questions. Thanks for coming to me. Thanks for trusting me. And thanks for understanding that not every day is great for me either. But the best part about a bad day is that tomorrow's a brand new one. Get a brand new, fresh start. Thanks for listening. Be well. I'll see you next week.